there, welcome to my video for July. Absolutely cooking here in Japan. Summers are brutal, particularly in the city itself. If you know Japan at all, you'll know every season comes with its own cultural traditions and seasonal changes. And summer in Japan brings the Tanabata and Obon festivals, fireworks and yukatas, the chirp of cicadas and fireflies. If you're just joining us, I'm an Australian artist and designer based in Japan. I moved here from Sydney in 2010. In 2021, after working as a commercial graphic designer for 20 years, I started a 10-year project to rediscover my imagination and creativity. I made a promise to produce 1,000 artworks in 10 years, producing 2 collections of 50 artworks each year and experimenting with different mediums. This video is part of a series I'm making in 2026, releasing 1 video a month as I give a window into my journey as a foreigner establishing himself as an artist in Tokyo. July has been a pivotal month for me as I've overcome 2 major hurdles that have held me back for a long time. The first one is physical. Designers will relate. We spend a huge amount of our lives at a desk, and when we're young we can get away with it. But as we get older, we need to become a bit more intentional about maintaining our physical well-being. I've always managed to exercise regularly, but I started to realize a few years ago that physical exercise alone wasn't enough. Jogging doesn't straighten out my rounding shoulders, for example. I knew at some point that I needed to start yoga. The problem was that yoga was the exact opposite of how I like to start my day. I do my best work in the first 3 or 4 hours of the day. I throw down a coffee, sit at the computer, and I'm off. With yoga, I'm being asked to stop, to breathe, to slow down and stretch, and I hated that idea. But gradually I felt my body growing tighter, which was having an adverse effect on my mental state as well. The hardest part of anything is starting, and there's an anecdote I love from James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits, who tells us a story about a guy who was incredibly out of shape but started going to the gym. Initially he didn't actually do any exercise. He would just drive to the gym, get out, he had a membership, and he would just sit there. After a few months, simply going to the gym became normal, and eventually there was a turning point where he said, well, I'm here, I may as well start working out, and that's how his journey to getting in shape took place. So the important thing was that he built the habit first, and I think I approached yoga in a similar way. I started with very basic 10-15 minute entry-level videos from a guy, Dean Pohlman, who runs a YouTube channel called Manflow Yoga, made for people like me that don't particularly like the idea of doing yoga. And for the first week or 2, it was really difficult. I was honestly pretty reluctant, but I kept showing up, and after about 2 weeks, something started to change. I started feeling dramatically better, and before I knew it, I couldn't get up and not do it. I think thanks to this new routine, the quality of the work I produce has improved as a result. The second hurdle was my attitude to drawing, and as a kid, drawing was an absolute joy. I'm probably inspired by Where's Wally. I loved drawing complex scenes that told lots of little stories. As an adult, however, I've always found drawing to be really stressful. First of all, there's blank page syndrome. As artists or writers, there's this common anxiety and paralysis that comes from looking at a blank page. It's the curse of perfectionism, I think. Have I got the anatomy and perspective right? Could I compose the scene better? Does this hand look natural? Always questioning myself. But something changed with the current collection that I'm working on. What I did each morning was I divided the page into a 4x4 grid, which gave me 16 squares. Right off the bat, I wasn't trying to get one thing right the first time. I had 16 chances. And then instead of being intentional with my drawing, I'd just create a free-form squiggle in each square. And then I'd go back through and let my imagination decide what I saw there. So adding a facial feature here and there. If an ear ended up somewhere where an arm should be, it didn't matter. If one was terrible, who cares? I still had another 15 on the page. And by removing that pressure from getting it right, it became fun and I really started enjoying the process. This July, for the first time in years, I was having fun drawing again. More so than the art itself, people are buying the artist. The lives we lead, our life story, is the overarching work, and the works we produce are artifacts that we leave behind. If this 10-year project has been my journey to rediscover my imagination, then this collection I'm working on now represents me to rediscovering the joy of drawing and illustration. So in this video you'll see I went to an early Obon festival in Sendagaya. Obon is the celebration of the spirits of our ancestors. We had organised a surprise birthday celebration for a designer friend, Ben Thomas, and we all danced the Bonodori together. Around the middle of the month, I took the family down to Shirahama Beach in Shimoda. It's about 3.5 hours south of Tokyo, and I did some surfing with my son, which was fantastic. I also sent out around 20 copies of Things, the catalogue I recently made, to hand out to studios and galleries to show what I'm doing. Thanks to that catalogue, I've been invited to do a show at local gallery and books in Koenji in January next year. I've met a number of gallery owners, bookstore event organisers, and art forward department stores. I met Chris Palmieri from AQ Works, who runs a UX design studio here in Tokyo. I also met James Boskill, a designer who's been working in Tokyo for decades. When I met up with James, he told me that the catalogue I'd sent him inspired him to start a side project of his own. And now he's building a 3D printing and circuitry workshop. I also visited Fabcafe to produce a halftone stencil for use with my Copic markers, working on this illustration, this collection that I'm working on at the moment. And then about halfway through the month, 2 large design projects landed at the same time, and the second half of this month became long days at the desk immersed in design work. Those projects are now largely finished, so now I can get back to my normal routine, making art and building connections in this city. Thanks for watching. In August there are going to be literally fireworks, hopefully the figurative kind as well, and I'll catch up with you again then in August.